apprehend God in all things, for God is in all things. Every single creature is filled with God and is a book about God. Amen. Amen. So be honest, does it look like I have a halo? It's like, cool, man. Finally. So I've been reading that story from Genesis all week, and it's just stuck with me all week, and it reminded me of my story, a story from my past, and though I was a senior in high school, it feels like it was just yesterday, this story, because I was out with about 10 friends of mine. It was a Saturday night. We were at our school after a game, and it was like freezing cold, like 50 degrees. And, South Florida, that's pretty cold. And so we had garbage cans lit, how they do up north, thinking we were up north. And we were just having fun, good time. And I almost was going to play the song for you, but I just didn't. Because we were listening to Journey, the band? Journey? Don't Stop Believing. We were singing along, really well, I'm sure. And we looked over at the wall of our school was like right over there. And we looked, and our mascot was a falcon painted onto the wall. And our rival school, like a week prior, had painted our falcon. Defamed it. So we're looking at this, listening to Journey, freezing cold, and somebody goes, I can't believe those guys painted our school. And we all go, yeah. And then music plays, Hands by the Fire. You with me here? Okay. Hands by the Fire. So we're doing that. Somebody goes, we need to get even with them. And everybody goes, yeah! Okay, Hands by the Fire, Journey playing. Somebody goes, I know where they keep their baseball uniforms. You know that filter that we have when somebody brings up something like that, and that filter kicks in and goes, not a good idea. It was not there that night. There was no filter that night. It was get even at all costs. We need to get even. You want to know what we did? Are you dying to know what we did? Okay, so we broke into their press box. Hey, and by the way, if you're a kid here today, or a teenager, I highly dissuade you from doing this. Do not do this, okay? So we broke into their press box, and there's all their baseball uniforms in boxes, ready for the season. And we took them all, every last one, and we threw them in a canal. It's not that bad. God, you're going to hate this sermon. You're just going to hate it. So we threw it in, and our response was not a gasp. Our response was, yeah! This was great. And then we went home and slept a little bit. And I woke up the next day and I felt pretty bad. Not as bad as you just made it seem, but I felt pretty bad. I was like, man, that probably wasn't a smart thing to do. But I justified my actions by just kind of saying, but we got even. They deserved it. They painted our school. And then every time I was around my friends, we all just reinforced that. A couple days after that, it was in the newspaper. Not like a headline, but, page 3. And it said what we did, and they never once used the term prank or that we got even. They said a lot of things about what we did, but prank was not one of them. And so now I'm starting to feel a little worse. Man, we never meant to hurt anybody, but, we were just trying to have some fun, good-natured fun. Could still justify it by, and it was a prank. Then I'm sitting in class the day after that, sitting there in class, and all of a sudden I hear over the intercom, "Will Thom Rasnick please come to the principal's office?" And I wasn't like, I wonder what that's about. Because after my name, they said every single name of my friends. All of us were down there. So we were doomed. And as I was walking along, I had to confront myself, the choices I've made, and what's becoming of me through the choices I've made. Have you ever been there? I'm sure you guys have never been there. Right? Where you're just confronted. Usually it's at like 3 in the morning, but you're just like confronted with something you've done or that you wish you hadn't, or something you hadn't done that you wish you had. Well, that's where we were. That's where I was anyway. And that's right where Jacob is in this story from Genesis. He's right in the same place. This is a human story. This is part of our human condition, that things like this happen. Because being in this place of where you're having to confront yourself, where I had to confront myself with my choices, it's not a fun place to be. It's a hard place to be. But it's also often a place, our tradition says, where we have the opportunity to grow and to learn and to mature. Because what our tradition says is we're not always going to make the right choice. You know that? Every now and again, we might not. And Jacob is like almost the patron saint for that. Hey, you know about his life? Well, he's lived his life on the run. And he's still on the run. And he's been running from all the bad choices he's made. And more importantly, he's been running from all the relationships that were broken because of his choices and all the people that he's hurt because of them. And now he finds himself in this place all alone, and he's about to confront his brother Esau. And you know what he did to him? He stole his birthright and he stole his inheritance. And now, the last he heard, Esau wants to kill him. And now, here he is, all alone. And I like to think it's about 3 in the morning. And he has to confront who he is, the choices he's made. And it's like a wrestling match, the text says. He's wrestling with all of this. And it's painful, and it's hard. And it's a consequence that he has to take responsibility for. But you know what? Right in the middle of all that, you know what he's wrestling with? God. Our text says God is who he's wrestling with. In the midst of his struggles, God is there. God doesn't abandon. There has been no choice that's been so bad that Jacob has made that God abandons him. God says to Jacob, in a sense, you're going to have to live with the consequences of the choices you've made. But there are no choices that will separate me from you. And I want to say that again. God says to you and to me today, you will have to live with the choices you've made, the consequences of those choices. But there are no choices that will separate me from you. God will not abandon God's people. God will not abandon you and me, even when we make bad choices. Because for God, there are no throwaway people. And you know what? Because we worship a God like this, because we follow a God like this, because we're in relationship with a God like this, what our tradition tells us is we're supposed to try to be like that God. We're supposed to be a people who doesn't throw anybody away. We're supposed to be a people that when the chips are down, we're there with you, not gossiping about you. You get me? We're supposed to be a people for whom there are no throwaway people, just like God. Did you ever experience that? Well, after our prank, I got in a lot of trouble. I mean, a lot. And there were a lot of people who were extremely disappointed in me. Extremely, extremely upset with me. And I could feel it. I think a lot of people wanted to just say, you're done, you're bad, stay away from that guy. But there was this one man, and he was part of our church. One man. And he seemed ancient when I was 18. I think he was like 45. Every time I saw him at church, every time I saw him anywhere, he must have known I needed it. He'd say the same thing. Just remember, God doesn't make any junk. For God, there are no throwaway people. I hope it's the same for you and me. With each other. And now we're about to baptize these beautiful children, right? And believe it or not, every now and again, these beautiful children might make a wrong choice. And this is what we're inviting them into. We're inviting them into a God who's going to say to Libby and Eden and Alex and Theo, I am with you always, even to the end of the age. So, let's stand and sing this hymn.